Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. Now, you're in Arizona?
New Mexico.
I didn't know it snowed in New Mexico.
We are in the mountains, so very close. We're an hour from Colorado.
Oh, where are you? I'm not real familiar with the area. Is that like Taos or something like that?
That's exactly where I am.
That's what my friend said. That's pretty highbrow.
Taos is an interesting combination of things.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, it's an artist community, which is where the highbrow comes in. But it's also very much like ski bum community and just working people.
Okay. All right. Well, you're one of those working people. I'm so glad to have you back with me, Angela Legh.
Thank you. Okay. I'm so glad to be back.
This is going to be interesting because you are coming back for the third time. You see that, Brains? Uno, dos, tres. 3 times.
3 times.
She is loving on the edge. Yes, she is. Thank you so much.
I got my swag on too.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what time it is, girl. That is a signature timepiece. That's the company watch. Everybody don't get the company watch.
Thank you.
You only got to work here 20 years to get the company watch.
Or be on 3 times, I guess.
Exactly. So I'm so glad to have you back. Brains, if you don't know Angela Legh, at the forefront of children's literature, then you are missing something. She is really, really a great person. We met a long time ago. I've been with her moving from Arizona to London, and now she's in New Mexico, but she's always back on the edge. But now she's come up with an expansion to what she's doing. She's talking about gentle parenting, and we are about to go in because I'm hardcore when it comes to parenting. I want to understand what her philosophy is, what she's seeing, what her understanding of millennials, raising generation Y and X, moving forward. How do you discipline these little people? And again, it's a different conversation because a girlfriend of mine was telling me some stuff that, it's a different level of respect. So we're going to talk about all that and then some. Angela, give my brains a brief introduction as to who you are and how you show up in the world, Queen.
Thank you. I'm Angela Legh, and I write children's fairy tales that help them understand how to deal with their emotions and also know the importance of them, that they are valuable people, and that self-love is really important for preteens especially. But also I'm a conscious parenting consultant, and I write for Gravid Parenting and Pregnancy in India, and I write parenting style articles for the Los Angeles Tribune.
Let's keep it 100. How do you rate yourself as a parent?
Oh, well, so gosh, my kids are grown.
Throw the carpet from up under me, April. Why don't you, huh?
Yeah, throw me under the bus. So I didn't know everything I know now when I was a parent, because my youngest is 34 and the oldest is in her 40s. And so things have changed significantly since I was a parent. And I would probably give myself a passing grade of maybe 60% when I was a parent, 15, 20 years ago. However,
well, you know what? You're still a parent, because when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, when it comes down to consultation, when it comes down to a couple grand, loan. No, but or when it comes to grandparenting, they turn to you. They reflect on that.
Yeah.
A lot of people get stuck, in epigenetics, intergenerational trauma
There's
that
a
has
lot of
been,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's been passed down. They don't
Yeah.
understand it themselves until they do the deep dive. They do the deep work.
Yep.
What are some of the corrective actions? We're going to start with you, and then I'm going to, chime in. But what are some of the corrective actions or things that you could have done differently? Not better,
Mm.
but differently.
Yeah, differently. So, I typically parents will either default into the same parenting style that their parents used,
Mhm,
or if they saw difficulties with their parents, they will default the exact opposite.
mhm,
And what I ended up doing was defaulting into permissive parenting style because I was raised by a very controlling, angry father,
mhm.
and I wasn't going to be like him. So I ended up not really setting boundaries or teaching my children the importance of boundaries.
Mhm.
And what I understand now is that if we do not teach children boundaries, they will not know how to set boundaries in their own life. And that is a key skill for grown-up adults to be able to set boundaries and say, hey, I will not be treated that way. You have the choice of changing how you're treating me, or
Right.
we have these other options.
Because you got to teach people how to treat your brains.
You do. Yeah.
I got a course, Treat Me Good 101. So, me as a parent, I'll put my head on the chopping block. I think I was stellar. Of course, every parent thinks they're stellar. I had a really great relationship with my daughter.
Mhm.
Conversations, the sex talk, there was no drugs, there was no,
Beautiful.
brought up in a two-parent household. She developed, I shouldn't say slower, but differently. She wasn't excited about driving the car. She wasn't excited about moving out. She stayed here till she was 28. But that's fine. No problem. But at 35, we ran into a kerfuffle. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
we did. Yes. And it wasn't pretty. I went total nuclear on her. Okay. She had never seen that side. And we didn't speak for, almost 2 months.
Mm.
And it was absolutely devastating to me. My stomach turned,
Mm.
she was crying. My husband was trying to be the buffer.
Yeah.
But what I did was I overextended. I gave her more than she could handle
Mm.
with an expectation that there were certain things that were going to happen and they didn't happen. And then with her expectation of me is that I've never seen you go off on me like that. I've never seen you swear at me like that. So it was really contentious. You're
Yeah.
never too old to find out something new about your relationship with your children,
That's true.
And again, boundaries. I overstepped mine
Mhm.
and she overstepped hers.
Yeah.
How
And
you
she
treat
didn't have
people.
an understanding of the boundaries that you had expectation to.
Exactly. And those are the key words.
Mhm.
Boundaries, her expectation, my expectation. So
Yep.
as kids grow and develop, where should we begin just really trying to understand who they are as
Mm.
individuals? It's they're ever evolving. And kids
Yes.
are complicated, but parents are complicated too.
Even little babies have personalities. So it's never too early to start paying attention to what kind of individual your child is developing into and honoring that in them. Because one of the things that I'm a huge proponent of is that parents respect their children and their children's path in life. So when you hear about people creating mini me's, that in my book is a big no-no because unless the child is the one who says, Mom, I want to follow in your footsteps, I want to be like you, that is an okay mini me situation. But if it's the parent's expectation that, hey, I always wanted to be a cheerleader, so you're going to be a cheerleader, that has nothing to do with the child's desires. It's only about the parent achieving a lifelong desire.
They want to relive their life vicariously through their children.
Exactly. So in my gentle parenting course that I'm creating right now, I talk about expectations and I talk about parents questioning their motivations behind those expectations. Is it because it's something they want, or is it something their children want?
Right.
Is it something that meets their idea of what is proper in society? Is it detrimental to the child?
Right.
You know, there are so many questions that parents can ask themselves.
You know, but again, the kids, they don't come with instructions.
No, they don't.
There's not a template. They're not cookie cutter. And the world has changed.
Oh yeah.
Just think when we grew up, what expectations our parents had, what the life cycle was then. You know, let's start with a heavy one. Gender identity. They don't want to be male or female. They want to be non-binary. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Okay. I am, you know, how do you know, and I get it. Your sexuality is between your legs. Your gender identity is between your ears.
Mm-hmm.
There's 52 different, from what I'm understanding, gender types.
Yep.
But you know, the first thing that parents think about when their child comes to them and they're questioning their sexual identity is, oh my God, we're not going to have any grandchildren. Oh my God, what is Aunt Martha going to say? Oh my God.
Exactly. Those are the expectations.
Yeah, my son's painting his nails. Oh my God. How are they having sex? How are they getting down? Who are they hanging with? All of these things, instead of just looking at the little person that you've raised from conception to maybe 13 years old that's struggling, trying to find out who they are. All those other questions and concerns are secondary.
Well, and also many of the questions and concerns you brought forth are self-serving to the parent.
Right.
And have nothing to do with the benefit of the child.
Right.
And while I understand what it is when you're, you know, there are many churches that frown on homosexuality or gender issues. Mm-hmm. And when you're raised in that religion and you're brought up with all these structures around you, it's really hard to let go of those structures and just say, hey, how am I going to benefit my child in this? But ultimately, isn't that what, as a parent, we're supposed to do? What will ultimately benefit my child? And in some cases, it might be that the ultimate benefit for the child is to just accept them as they are. In fact, I would say most cases, that is the best. But, you know, it is hard to let go of the structure that you grew up with. And
they don't understand. I mean, you know, you look back in the day when there was interracial marriage between black and white. Oh, right. Like, remember and that? Guess who's coming to dinner? You know, with Sidney Poitier. It's a shock. It is a shock because
it is a shock to the societal standards of the time.
Absolutely.
And, you know, now we're well past that guess who's coming to dinner thing in most families. which is a good thing because people are people, and it doesn't matter what the color they are a person, and we need to honor people for being people.
Okay, let's touch on something else. The
Okay.
way that the young people, millennials, communicate. I've got an issue with you being in the car with me and your thumbs are moving and I'm trying to engage in a conversation, right? And you tell me you don't have anything to talk about. Well, your thumbs is doing a hell of a job. Okay. I get it.
Well,
This is the way that communication is done.
you
But
know that
I demand when young people are with me a social interaction, because it's going to come a point where you're going to go to school, you're going to interview, you're going to be at a dinner table. You need to have social grace and able to have a conversation
yes,
outside of a 30-second clip on a TikTok video.
yes, that is so key. And this is where setting an expectation and a standard or a boundary is very reasonable, because all you're saying is, because there are all these benefits to you being able to put down the phone and have a face-to-face conversation, this is my limit. And that is what is, in gentle parenting, what is considered a reasonable boundary and expectation to hold. The whole idea is, so my kids, pretty much only text me. I don't ever get phone calls. and
My
I
daughter,
had to,
my daughter texted me from the living room to tell me that dinner was ready.
oh my gosh.
And I didn't go. I didn't go. I said, you know what? Come and talk to me. When
Yeah.
we are at the restaurant, I'm paying for this table. Okay. I'm paying to engage and have a social interaction with you, have some fun, have a great meal. Food is meditation, food is love. Put the device down.
Yeah.
There's nothing that could be that important. And if it is that important, you're with should be one of the most important people in your life, your parent.
And this is really for the millennial parents. So what I believe, I have seen millennial parents in the park with their toddlers, and the toddlers are playing on the playground equipment, and the millennial parents are scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and they have no attention on their child. They're so focused on their phone. And I bring it up because I've seen it time and time and time again. It's not just that, I saw one person doing it. But when you think about it, will you be on your deathbed saying, oh gosh, I wish I spent more time scrolling Instagram?
Right. Or how about this one? When you see that the toddler is scrolling on the phone as
Yeah,
a
there's a
way
whole
of exactly as a way of being entertained, monitored, ignored, distracted by the parent. So and I see that all the time too. And I'm like, this child is probably all of 4 years old and knows every function, how to get to these things and all that. Exactly. They're being parented by the device, and then they wonder why. All right, let's ask another question. Friendship.
Yeah.
I'm your parent. We can be friendly, but I'm not trying to be your best friend.
No.
Because then if I'm your best friend, right, if I'm your best friend, then I've got to worry about you liking me. I've got to worry about you not hurting my feelings or getting your feelings hurt, kowtowing to your desires. That's not the kind of parent I am.
Which is good, because that's what is called the permissive parent. And a permissive parent, the outcomes of raising a child under those ideas of overgiving, of kowtowing to the child, let the children be the children, really poor outcomes for the kids. And I don't have my studies open, so I cannot quote the exact outcomes in this particular thing, but people will be able to find it in my online course. What a psychological longitudinal study of families in the 1960s, Dr. Diana Baumrin, she determined she actually determined 3, and then they added a 4th, different parenting style. There's the disciplinarian, there's the permissive, there's the neglectful, and there's what she called authoritarian. But she also called the disciplinarian authoritative. And to me, they're just too close, too confusing. So it's discipline and gentle. And so the gentle parenting method, which includes having boundaries and limitations and expectations, but high level of nurturing. So respect and support. And especially when it comes to emotions, respect of their emotions.
Right.
Back
And
and forth.
validating them, that, I understand what I had to get into that because I wasn't into that. I was the authoritarian. I told your ass to clean up the room, clean it up.
See, this is why I changed it.
Right.
We were being disciplined.
Yes, it wasn't a choice. It wasn't an option. When you were a latchkey kid, you came home from school, you had you came home, you put your books down,
you watched TV.
Made something to eat. No, you didn't watch TV until after that homework and your chores were done. Then you could watch some TV.
No, I was the other way around.
Yeah, but the thing was, you walked home from school. Now my girlfriend's kids are 13 and 14, and she still picks them up from school. It's different. It's about their safety, but they also have to learn to be independent contributors to society. Let's talk about
a part of that is when parents set boundaries and they allow their child to decide what the consequences are, then they are giving their child choice, but they're also allowing their child to grow into critical thinking, and there are other benefits associated with allowing the child to decide. Not the least of which, when it comes to having to do the discipline, so the child did not meet the expectations, and at this point, all you have to say is, yeah, what did you say the consequence was going to be,
right,
Johnny?
Right. Now, I'm a parent that will say, I told you so. People say, I will tell you. I want to reiterate the fact. Quick story. There was these steam compressors underground, big metal plates, and the kids had to walk across them when they came back from the pool. I told my daughter, baby, don't walk across that. You're going to get burned. I said, you're coming from the pool. You've got the chlorine. Your pores are open. You're going to get burned, and you're going to get burned bad. Oh, they loved it. They loved it. I was on vacation, Chicago. My husband calls me. He's in the ER. Chanel's been burned. Okay. It wasn't a bad burn, but it was enough for her to, have to go to the ER. Well, I tell her to this day, do you remember the steam? Oh, yes, I do. I psychologically work with children. Corporal punishment, your teacher could tap your bottom. The neighbor next door could catch you doing something and tap your bottom.
Well, yeah.
I'm not into that. I'm not into that. But sometimes I got to get your attention. So I try to think strategically, what can I do? I don't necessarily in the heat of the moment as a parent have the time to edit, filter, process, come up with this laundry list of, well, maybe I should do this, and then I consider this and tick all the boxes. Sometimes it's a heightened situation. Your kid runs out in front of the car. Your kid is, just really showing out in front of whatever, and you can't get their attention. You have to understand what it is. Calling my kids simple drove them nuts. We are not plain. We are not average. We're not simple. Okay. But then you have to be careful of the things that you say, because now that's psychologically impacting them.
Mhm.
How do we figure out a balance when it comes to discipline?
With so the first thing I want to say is that when you use violence as a discipline, what you're teaching your child is that violence is an answer. That is an appropriate response to circumstances. And so I do not believe that using violence is an appropriate response. I will say, though, that when my 2-year-old ran out in the street and a car was coming, I did smack his bottom. So there are, sometimes we get into the space where like we don't have a real choice over, our reactivity to what
Right.
happens. And
Because
that is,
we're all, we're like, I told you, I told you, I told you, but you're not listening. You're reinforcing that. But it used to be the day where I knew my grandmother. See, I was good in front of my grandmother. There wasn't no problem. But she would make my cousins go and get their own switch off of a tree.
yeah.
Yeah, and or there's parents that use extension cords. I heard this horror story. The parent would make the child knee down on a bed of rice. So, those things are not teaching a lesson. It is not giving them tools to rely on to make
It's
them a
about
well-adjusted.
control.
It's about, no, it's about brutality.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
about
And
brutality.
but that also is a control thing. And so um yeah, those would fall under the disciplinarian style parenting,
Mhm.
and the outcomes for the children in those kind of parentings are probably the worst out of all. So when you think of a child being neglected and the outcomes for a child who grows up with no parental love, it that and discipline are the two like wide ends of the
Right.
spectrum. And
And then
permissive
you wonder why your child goes to school and your child is the bully. You're
well,
learning that behavior. That behavior is, either a cry for help or it's being mimicked by what they are seeing and receiving at home. Just to be
absolutely.
mean, evil, and aggressive. And I don't think that that's innately in any of us. That's a learned behavior.
It's a learned behavior. A bully frequently is trying to exert some sense of control in their life, because in the other parts of their life there is no control. They are the victim, and so they try and exert control in the one area they can at school. And so yeah, it's understanding that hurt people
Exactly.
is a huge thing that we can teach our children. That, yeah, if someone is coming at you and lashing out, there is something in that person that is so wounded that they feel like they have to.
Mm.
It's not you, my child. You are only the mirror for that
Right.
person who
Right.
is behaving in that way.
Your language. I'll go back to my word simple. Well, there's a whole bunch of other choice words that I heard this woman saying to this little baby.
Mm,
Uh, Girl, she cussed him like a sailor. And
mm.
I just, in the shop in Target. And I cringed because he was like, it was like he was just shrinking.
Yeah,
And words hurt.
words hurt.
Words are as impactful
Mm.
and damaging as that switch.
Words are our thoughts, and our words are actually electrical impulses that go out, and they carry vibration. And so that little child was the recipient of some very harsh words. And that little child at that age, the mom is the authority. The mom knows everything. So to that child, the mom saying those things to her child, that's the truth about that child, to that child. And that means that that child will now grow up. Whenever someone calls them any of those words, the energy from this childhood wounding shows up, and they are very reactive to that. And so it's really key that we speak in positive ways, nurturing our children. When they make a mistake, we talk about the behavior, not the person, and separate the behavior from the person. So that, and the other key for parents is to understand that their reactivity to the circumstances may be based on their childhood wounding.
Exactly.
And so self-examination is important.
Or the current situation. Let's talk to the single parent.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
What a job they have. Wow.
All right. So you got, again, like I said, you got this litany of things that, boxes that we can tick off. Girl, I don't have time to go through that. I'm trying to work. I'm paying the bills. I'm cleaning the house. I'm cooking the dinner. Your dad's not supporting. He's not paying. He's not coming around. Yada, 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 yada. Okay. And I'm supposed to be this gentle parent. What do you say to that person?
I say it's really hard to be a single parent. And when you have to work one or two or sometimes even three jobs to support the family, it's really hard for you to be able to be in this space of self-control. And what I would suggest for parents in that situation is to understand that even though words are very powerful and they carry vibration, modeling behavior is key for your children. Because think about when you were young and an adult said something like, do as I say, not as I do. How did that ever work?
Right.
Behavior we follow, it's not the words. And so parents need to understand that if they want their children to be emotionally regulated, that they need to learn emotional regulation so they can model that for their children. And, even the busiest parent would benefit from learning emotional regulation, because the tools and the techniques and the tips that I give in my parenting course, they're simple. They're really simple.
Right.
And if they're not put into practice, they won't help. And
and again, Brains, it is a practice. It is an ongoing. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to, it's not going to happen all the time. But again, it's going to be tools. It's going to be in your arsenal that you're going to be able to defend yourself and fight yourself off from maybe teen pregnancy, maybe suicidal tendencies, maybe gang violence. Let's talk about honesty. How honest do you think that a parent should be with their child? This is my take on it. When you ask me a question, okay, you're a little human being. You're not a baby, you're a person. And if you come to me with a question, I'm going to answer that question. Nice. I may not go into every nano detail, but I am going to answer it openly and honestly, because I want you to know that I am your advocate, that I am your support, that I am on your team, that you can trust me.
April, you're a gentle parent.
Let me tell you,
because all of those things are part of gentle parenting. Yeah.
My mother got knocked up at 14 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, and what she taught me was I was beautiful, that I was precious, that I was special. that when someone, was in my presence, I was a queen, that, they should treat me gentle, and you don't just let anybody violate you, and you fall in love. And I mean, she just made it seem like a fairy tale. And when I broke my virginity, I rushed home and I told my mother, and we sat there and we hugged and we
Mm.
talked. And she said, "This is your rite of passage. And, did you protect yourself and all that?" It was beautiful. So I
Yeah.
put the same Spengali on my daughter and I dodged a bullet. But my neighbor across the street, her daughter's 35 and they still never had to talk.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of repression when it comes to discussion of sexual stuff.
Why?
And it's society. It's like
It's strange.
what was okay in the, like when you were a child, your mom was an extraordinary parent, because most parents, when you were a child, were not doing that with their children. And what I propose to parents is that they be vulnerable with their children, and they
Absolutely.
share their feelings over. So if your child comes to you to talk about bullying, and you were bullied as a child, validating your child's feelings is huge. And so if you're
Absolutely.
able to say, "Hey, I had the same situation and I felt like this," then in that vulnerability, you are creating a connection with your
Yes.
child
Yes.
that
Yes.
will never go away.
Yes. Yes. I'm
Yeah.
60 years old and I still reflect on that. But you can use this same methodology when it comes to drugs, when it comes to gang violence, when
Yeah.
it comes to, not doing well in school.
Coming in with understanding, compassion, and vulnerability puts a parent into a space of, you can be my confidant.
Mhm.
And that really, isn't that what we
That
parents
that
want?
is what, and again, I told my daughter, like my mother told me, she says, "No matter what happens, tell me the truth, and I'm here to support you. You're going to have challenges.
Yeah.
Things are going to go on. Peer pressure, once the kid is probably 8, 9, 10, and they cross that threshold of your doorway,
Mm.
they're a whole different beast. Girl, I remember those Catholic school girls, honey, they would pull that skirt up, roll those bobby socks down, and put some lipstick on, and you would wonder, like, well, who in the world is that?
I went to Catholic school. So.
Yeah, yeah. So they were close, but
Yeah.
they had a level of respect for their parents, that skirt was pulled down and bobby socks was pulled up and that lipstick was wiped off by the time that they got home. Young people now have not the same level of respect for their parent. You talk to us about gentle parenting.
Mhm.
I'm talking about respectful uh respectful young people to their parents. They
I
don't
think.
they don't go well, they don't go and visit them.
Mm.
Kids don't call their grandparents. Your mother, you couldn't spend the money or the card until you thanked grandma. You called grandma. You nurtured and encouraged that conversation. You looked at your grandparents with reverence, that this is my grandmother. She's got all these years of wisdom. She loves me in a special kind of way, different than my mother. It was so different now. I'm not seeing that the young people are respecting their elders, and I demand respect.
Well, and respect goes two ways. And I believe that a parent needs to show respect for their child for who they are, and in return, expect respect back. And that's part of setting the boundaries and limitations.
But wait. You use that big $25 word, expectation.
Mm-hmm.
See, to me, it's not an expectation. It's pretty much a demand. I have
Well,
showed you,
you
I've
can use
taught
that
you,
word
I've
and I'll use mine.
yeah, but I've showed you, I've taught you, I've loved you, I've nurtured you, I've honored you, I've gently parented you, and now you disrespect me. I have issues with that. I really, again,
Yeah.
it's the
And that
boundaries that you set from the beginning. They have to know where to hold and where to fold.
exactly. And when a parent is faced with that, when they receive that level of disrespect, it's time for an open conversation. You know, this is what I expect from you. This is what I believe I deserve. And when you treat me this way, it makes me feel this way. And have that conversation so that the child has understanding of how their behavior affects someone else. It's an important part of learning how to be in society,
Right.
because if we do not teach them how to interact with others, where are they going to learn it?
Right.
From Twitter? Probably not.
And yeah, well, they're scrolling. So, Angela, you have been a wealth of information. We could talk about this for hours and
As
hours on
always,
end.
yeah.
I absolutely adore you. I love how you are just evolving. I love the pink. What is that kind of pink and light pink and dark pink hair? You got what do they call that? Ombre. You got the pink
It is a
ombre
little
going.
bit ombre. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it looks good. It looks good on you, and it's gentle like your heart. Your voice tone, your voice inflection, you're just really in a good space. And I'm glad that you're here to help other parents navigate this, because it's a challenge. Like I said, it's a
It
challenge.
is a challenge.
And the only way that we're going to get through it is information and being open and being good listeners, parents.
Yeah.
Your child will tell you everything you need to know. Okay. And I do a little snooping. Yes, I do. I will, I'm going to check your phone. I'm going to go in your room. Maybe that's, a violation of boundaries, but if you're not
Only
talking,
if you set those boundaries.
yeah, if you're
If
not
you
talking and
set,
you're not communicating and those thumbs are going, you're talking to somebody. I want to go through the backpack. Maybe I'm going to find something. Maybe I don't find anything. But if you do, don't come aggressively.
Mhm.
Say, look, I had an opportunity to, or this happened or that happened. I got wind of, I was concerned with your well-being.
Yes.
Exactly. Talk to them as if they are a person, not as if they
They
are,
are.
sloppy seconds. Okay. So thank you for talking to us, Angela. Please tell my brains.
Can I just add one thing?
And girl, keep going. We got plenty of time. Add
So
what
a
you
lot of the things that we talked about today are actually in my children's books.
Hmm.
And just yesterday, I got 2 gold medals, Mom's Choice Awards.
Wow.
One for the first book, Bella Santini and the Land of Everlasting Change, the other for the second book, Bella Santini and the Troll War. And for parents who want to take a quick dive into, okay, what does this gentle parenting mean? Many of the tools and techniques are in those books.
Well, and you know what? And it's fun and it's fantasy and it's engaging. It doesn't seem like blah, 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 blah. You enjoyed the whole ride, the whole way. She took a lot of time to navigate this and to create this so that it was fun and entertaining for adults and for kids. Do you have a copy of the books there? I see them. Yes,
I
up on the
do.
shelf.
Well, I have them right here too. So
Let's see it. Oh,
yeah.
let me see right there. Put your face in between there.
Can I fit it
Wait,
all?
wait, yeah, wait,
There we go.
yeah, there we go. That's beautiful. So tell my brains how to get in contact with you, Angela Legh.
So just for the books, you go to bellasantini.com. It's BELLASANTINI.com. To get a hold of me or find out about gentle parenting, angelalegh.com. And it's ANGELA legh.com.
And I'm going to put all of her information in the back. I'm so glad to see you. When you come this way, or when I come that way, we are going to go and have a really good time together because I adore you.
You in LA?
I'm in San Diego, America's finest city, honey.
I'll be in San Diego in April.
In April?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's absolutely no excuse. I don't care what part, southern, northern, I'm there to be with you.
Awesome.
All right. Brains?
Oops, my brain thing. Wait. It got under the books. So.
Brains, I need for you to go love, like, share, follow, and subscribe. I know it's a lot. Love, like, share, follow, and subscribe. Because there's a parent out there that's struggling. You know, and we don't want them to struggle. We want to give them the tools so that they have the best relationship with their child, that they raise an independent, positive contributor to society, because the struggle is real. It's tough out there. So thank you, Angela, and I'll talk to you again soon. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, Brains.